Greetings once again, my friends, my fellow modelers, and more importantly, my fellow Star Trek fans. This video is going to be basically wrapping up the build series that we've done with the Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, U.S.S. Reliant. And this video is going to be the end, and it's going to be my thoughts on the model kit, as well as the little things that I tell you about the model itself and what I did along the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to review the series, and we'll mention a little bit about the movie Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, where Khan Noonien Singh looks to get revenge to Captain Kirk for leaving him and his people on the planet of SETI Alpha 5. So let me go ahead and put you on the tripod and we'll get right to it. So, to review a little bit, guys, the model kit that we used for the build was the Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, U.S.S. Reliant, NCC 1864. With the battle damage, this is 1/1000 scale, and this is from Polar Lights. Now, the U.S.S. Reliant herself is a Miranda-class starship, and it was captained by Captain Terrell. If you guys remember the beginning of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, the Reliant is on a mission, and they're actually looking for a lifeless planet that they can test Dr. Carol Marcus and Dr. David Marcus's new device, Genesis, on. The whole reason for Genesis as a purpose was to create a livable environment out of a barren one, such as the inside of an asteroid or a barren planet, and it would be to relocate people and help the population. Of course, it got perverted into a weapon where the Klingons figured that they could use it as a weapon because it actually destroys everything in favor of its new matrix. So at the beginning, we've got Captain Terrell and Mr. Chekhov. Commander Chekhov is aboard the Reliant, and they go in to check out SETI Alpha 5. So what ends up happening is they're looking for life forms, and that's when Mr. Chekhov goes, "Ugh, does it have to be completely lifeless?" Well, they actually find something. So they talk to Carol Marcus, and he suggests that it could be something that could be transplanted. So they beam down, and they're looking, and at first they don't see anything because it's like a barren world, and there's wind and sand. It's like a sandstorm. And they go inside this structure, and they're looking around, and Mr. Chekhov leans up against a belt buckle, and he looks at it, and he goes, "Botany Bay." And then it dawns on him, Botany Bay, SETI Alpha 5, Khan and the whole situation from years earlier aboard the Enterprise. So that's when he tells Terrell, they got to get out of there. Make a long story short, they get captured by Khan and his men, and what they do is they put a life form that goes into the air and wraps itself around the cerebral cortex, and it makes the person that it's in, that the bug is in, highly susceptible to suggestion. And they were able to control, Khan that is, was able to control Terrell and Chekhov. So they get possession of the Reliant. They beam the Reliant crew down to SETI Alpha 5, and they take off in search of Genesis. So it's Carol Marcus and David Marcus, and Reliant is on their way. And to make a long story short, they attack the Enterprise, and they actually demonstrate what Genesis does, and they're inside of an asteroid. And because Carol Marcus and Captain Kirk are old, they're an old couple, because David is Admiral Kirk's son. Anyway, they go into the asteroid, and you can see the big beautiful setting and all the fresh plants and all the oxygen it's producing. And the Reliant is after it, and again, I'm sorry, I don't mean to rattle on, but to make a long story short, the Genesis device is stolen by Khan, taken aboard the Reliant, and eventually, after the Enterprise disables the Reliant, Khan orders its self-destruction. He detonates the Genesis device. In doing so, he destroys the U.S.S. Reliant. But just before the Reliant is destroyed, she really takes a beating from the Enterprise. And that's what I wanted to emphasize on this model. So we used the 1/1000 scale Polar Lights U.S.S. Reliant for the build. And I had a vision of what I wanted to do. I remember the port nacelle was blown off. There was damage. The photon torpedo launcher in the back was blown apart, and it was a lot of damage. So I want to show you the finished model that we had worked on. I'll put the box aside, and I present to you the U.S.S. Reliant NCC 1864. When it comes to the base, I had all kinds of different ideas, but eventually I settled on, I was thinking of doing the Mutara Nebula and making it kind of purplish, but I ended up liking the black. Now, the model kit came with the words Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. The aftermarket decal set with the Aztecing actually had these words in white. So what I did was I put the white ones down first and I superimposed the yellow ones over it to kind of make it look like the kind of font with the shadow. And then what I did was I had gone and clear coated the base. And I had clear coated the decals on too, so it's all nice and secure. So moving on to the ship herself, let me show you guys the port side, because that's actually where the Enterprise blows off her nacelle. So you can see the nacelle pylon is highly damaged, and we have the cables sticking out that are actually going to glow. And originally I thought we were going to make the nacelle coming off the ship, but I figured it would be a better idea to have it coming off the base. That way they wouldn't put any added pressure or stress on the ship. So let's see if I want to zoom in and show you guys the nacelle, all destroyed. And what we did was we blew the back off to make it look just like the explosion, or it came from the inside out, as well as where it was blown off from the nacelle pylon. And that's the area, as we go around the back, where the Enterprise really did most of her damage here. You can see the shuttle bays. Shuttle Bay 1 is really destroyed, and Shuttle Bay 2, as well as the photon torpedo that hit the top of the photon torpedo launcher of Reliant. We got the impulse crystal, the impulse engines. So looking at the back of the ship, we got the rear nacelle, a few hits over there of phaser power. And remember, they were going back and forth, so the Enterprise really ended up really beating on her. Coming around to the port side in the front of the ship, looking at the top of the saucer section, you can see where the bridge is. The roll bar with the photon torpedo launcher, the forward launcher. You can see the sensors, B and C decks, and you can see coming around we got the registry markings. So it's coming around to the front of the ship. You can see the U.S.S. Reliant, you can see the phaser arrays, the registry markings, and we'll come around towards the starboard side of the ship. Forgive the shaky camera. Alright, so coming around to the starboard side, again you can see the sensors and the roll bar and the parts on it, and I'm going to actually have to go back and hide the wires because I totally forgot about those. We can't leave those exposed like that, so I'll take care of that. And you can see the Bussard collector in the front, and the coil, and we have the nacelle. NCC 1864, U.S.S. Reliant. And we come full circle to the back, and you can see hangar bay number 2. I don't know if you can still see the number 2 on the blue background. And again, I gotta hide those wires. I had forgotten about that. And back to the chiller grills. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually tell you guys about the power supply. So when it came to lighting the ship, I had wanted to light the ship. It is so small. The thickness of the primary hull around the thinnest section is only 1/4 of an inch. So I was limited with running the beacons all the way around and what I could do for lighting inside the ship. So what I ultimately decided on doing was I actually put a blinking light on the inside of the hull, and I ran fiber optic strands. I ran them out through the tops. And this one's not lit because this part has been destroyed. But when it comes to the base and the power supply, I used the power pack with 2 1.5 volt batteries. And I think it'll do the job very nicely, but what I did was I left it loose on the bottom. The base kind of covers it, because if we were to glue this into position, it just wouldn't be as easy to get to the batteries. So let me go ahead and I'm going to switch it on. Just like that. Alright, let's zoom in. So hopefully you can see the way she looks. We've got the lights on the inside, and again, this section is destroyed. That's why it's not blinking. So we come around to the side, and you can see the nacelle. And you can see the reflection in the base. I actually lit the registry numbers below the ship. So hopefully you guys can see that. As we come around to the port side, hopefully you guys can see the chiller grill that's lit on the other side. So let's spin her around. I'll show you the head-on view. And again, she sustained heavy damage. And this is the end for the U.S.S. Reliant, because Khan is about to detonate the Genesis device. And again, this is far from perfect. I know there are many mistakes, which no doubt many of you are in a hurry to point out. And I just enjoy doing it. By no means am I a professional, but it was really fun. And I had a vision of what I wanted to do. I wanted to try to create the damage in a Reliant from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, as best as I could. Hopefully you can see the flickering after the Enterprise blows off her nacelle. Same thing with the flickering on the top. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let's bring it around to the impulse crystal. You can see where the Enterprise just inflicted the damage and blew apart the photon torpedo launcher. Coming around, we got the chiller grill and a starboard side nacelle. And what we did was I gave the whole model a final coat of clear coat, just to seal in all of the decals. Let's see if you can see the Aztecing decals on here. Coming back, watch out for my Klingon D7. Coming over to this side, the starboard side. Let me show you guys the top of the ship. And let's fly over the damaged photon torpedo launcher, as well as the impulse crystal. So the Klingon D7 is pretty bright. Let me go ahead and unplug that. Let's see if that's a little bit better, but you can actually see the damage to the photon torpedo launcher. turn her around so we can come around to the port side and show you guys the damage. And coming all the way around to the damaged nacelle pylon, you can see all the conduits and cables where it was severed and it's kind of sparking. And of course the nacelle has no power now. Coming around, show you guys the impulse engine, the impulse crystal, and the damage to the proton torpedo launcher. So my thoughts with the model: the kit itself, really small. When I had first had this idea, I was going to use my 1537 Reliant, but I would have felt, I didn't really want to destroy it, because this was the project. Remember, the plan was in my head, and I didn't know how it was going to come out. And I really didn't want to risk destroying a 1537 U.S.S. Reliant. And I had gotten this off eBay. I think it was $29 with free shipping. So if I totally messed this up, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And this is pretty much what I envisioned. The wires on the inside were just so hard to get in because of, like I said, 1/4 inch. And it's going to look a lot bigger on camera, but it's really, there's no room in there. So to try to get the windows lit, I did it, but it was really hard. And to light the impulse crystals, as well as the impulse engines, and the docking bay doors, coming around the starboard side nacelle, chiller grills. So this was a fun build, and the next version of the Reliant that we build, I want it to be pristine. When probably, when Captain Terrell was in command and she was just going about her missions, long before she ever had the misfortune of meeting Khan Noonien Singh. So my friends, that basically is the conclusion to the Star Trek II Wrath of Khan, U.S.S. Reliant 1864, the Miranda class damaged ship, as she appeared moments before the Genesis device detonated, totally destroying her. And ultimately, it created a planet, Genesis. And then that's the basis of the whole new next movie from The Search for Spock. But that's another video, my friends. And again, I want to thank you so much for watching. I want to thank you guys for the kind words and the support. And thank you so much again. And until my next custom little model that we're going to destroy and ruin, I'll talk to you soon.